Not everyone wants to play Shizu Tiers this format, so why not give Shaddolls a try? What is up, guys? This is Tcg Sam here, and in today's video, I'm going to be coming at you guys with an updated Shaddol deck profile for the new November 2022 format. I came up with this build because I decided some people just aren't going to want to play Tearlaments, not only just the Shizu, but Tearlaments in general. So Shaddol is definitely a very, very powerful deck that you definitely shouldn't sleep on, and I'm going to show you guys why. So let's just hop straight into the deck profile. So since we are playing Shaddolls, of course, we do need Shaddol monsters. 2 copies of Shaddol Wendy and 2 copies of Hedgehog. These are the only multiples of Shaddolls that I play. I think Wendy's probably one of the better ones, and of course it gives you the different attribute for App Clone. And same with Hedgehog because it keeps maintaining hand advantage and also allows you to search a spell or trap, so when it's flipped. So probably the best ones in the deck. And then for the one-ofs, for the utility, essentially 1 Squamata, 1 Beast, 1 Dragon, 1 Aerial. So I think this is all you really need. You don't really want to play like the other ones, I'd say. You could make an argument for playing Genius, but I don't think Genius is that important. Honestly, I'd rather just play something like Aerial over it. Like, I understand that Aerial isn't necessarily going to be able to hit tier names unless somehow the Aerial is above your opponent's chain links. So for example, you can go something like your opponent attempts to mill with Merly or something, and then you can chain your fusion spell, sending Aerial. Their stuff's gonna be chain link 1 since they're turn player, and then your Aerial will be chain link 2 to shuffle away their to banish their fusion monsters, which can be good. So I feel like for that reason Aerial is pretty good as well, and it gives you that recursion by being able to summon from your banished and facilitate some combos with Shaddol Incarnation. The other ones are all pretty self-explanatory. I don't think you want more Squamatas because you are already playing 8 Shaddol monsters. I think that's more than enough. And in this deck, there's a special way to get them back, and I will show you guys that in just a moment. Moving on to the Shaddol spells, 3 copies of Fusion and 3 copies of Shaddol Fusion. Very standard. You need to see these to be able to play. And of course, Shaddol Fusion just heavily punishes your opponent when you're going second. And then for the traps, 1 Schism and 1 Shaddol Incarnation. You do want the 1 Resh. It gives you a very good grind game, and it also facilitates some combos turn 1 with constructs. And then 1 Foolish Burial, honor a Shaddol card. And then for the other engines that we were playing, I am playing the Dogmatika engine. This engine is just too good in this deck not to play. Nadir Servant not only grabs you access to your Dogmatika engine, but also grabs you access to your Shaddol engine by sending App Clone. So for example, a single Nadir Servant can send App Clone, search Ecclesia. App Clone can either search you Shaddol Fusion or Schism to play on your opponent's turn, or it can search a Hedgehog, pitch a Hedgehog if you have no other Shaddol monsters in your hand. And then, of course, you have access to the Dogmatika, Ecclesia, and Fleur de Lis, so that's 1 interruption. Plus, starting your Shaddol engine is just really, really powerful. And since Shaddolls can play on our opponent's turn, we don't necessarily care too much about the extra deck lock, even if we start with the Nadir Servant. So for that reason, definitely want to max out on this package. Really good. Doesn't matter if these are in the graveyard. These are also light monsters, by the way, for Construct. And then we're also playing the branded engine, just a very, very small branded engine. 3 Fusion, 1 Albaz. Also, like Nadir Servant, gets your Shaddol engine started and just puts an extra disruption on the board for no reason at all at the cost of playing 1 quote-unquote brick and falling off Albaz. I think that's really worth it. Branded Fusion also just makes it so there's so many Ash Baits in your deck. One of your power spells is bound to resolve. And Branded Fusion is just one of those power spells. Being able to summon Lubellion by dumping a dark Shaddol monster, summoning out Mirror Jade, and then the Shaddol monster getting a plus is just insane. And then not only that, the Mirror Jade sending Titanic Cloud also gets you access to your Dogmatika engine as well. So lots of synergies here. But Branded Fusion is just a very powerful power card that you want to see in your deck. And now I know I said you guys maybe didn't want to see Tearlaments, but I'm only playing 3 Tearlaments Shiren in this deck, and I'm going to explain why I'm actually playing this card. So Shiren, for those of you who don't know, can actually just send any monster from your hand to the grave to special summon it and mill 3, meaning you can actually discard the Shaddolls for effects and get their effects. So if you have a hand full of Shaddolls, which is one of the issues that Shaddolls has, it draws a lot of the monsters that don't do anything or are too slow without the fusion spells. And this is one of the ways you can solve that issue by sending it to the grave, milling 3, potentially hitting more Shaddolls, but at the very least triggering that Shaddol in the graveyard, or milling another Shiren. And when Sharon sends to the grave, you're able to fusion summon any fusion monster. It doesn't have to be a Tearlaments monster. So even though most of the time you're only making like Winda, that's still really good because Winda is one of your integral parts of your end board. It also gives you the option to recycle like some of your Shaddol monsters by going to that Winda. This is the recovery option that I mentioned, and it just gives a whole new dimension to Shaddolls because it makes it so you can actually do stuff even without like fusion spells, or you can extend past like your initial 2 fusion spells. So for that reason, I really like Sharon. Just for all the reasons above, like worst case scenario, like you just discard a Shaddol trigger its effect, summon this out as a body, and then when you fuse on your opponent's turn, you turn this plus a Shaddol, let's say on the board, into a Winda, and then Sharon in the grave just makes a second Winda. So like Sharon is just super powerful in this deck. I really think it's a great addition to the Shaddol strategy. You guys don't have to play it, but I would recommend at least trying it. I feel it is very, very powerful, especially if you're sending off something like Branded Fusion, let's say. You're able to just pump out so many fusions in the late game. It's just honestly insane. And even if you draw like Sharon plus Sharon, you can turn that into Garura, or not Garura, sorry. You can potentially mill any Shaddol and then just put this back and make a Winda. So honestly, really not that bad at all. It just also helps you recycle like your fusion monsters in your extra deck. So that's why I really like the Sharon in the deck. No other tier cards. And then for the going second cards, we're going to start off with Ultimate Slayer. So Ultimate Slayer, I know this is a bit expensive, but Ultimate Slayer is really powerful in this deck because there's so many fusion monsters running around, especially because like it's a tier dominated format. You're going to be able to send Applone a lot, and this card essentially then acts as a going second card that is also a starter because your Applone just gets you access to your Shaddol engine, or you can send Entis to clear 2 cards. You do play other targets like Lynx, Synchros, and XYZs because you do have a bit of space for them. So Ultimate Slayer is pretty much never going to be dead in any matchup aside, except against like Fuluanderies. But yeah, Ultimate Slayer, if you guys can't afford it, you can definitely just play like 3 copies of Effect Veiler or something, just like another light monster that's a going second card, something to consider. Or you can play like 3 copies of Dino-Miscus, for example, if you want as well. And then for the other going second card, Super Poly, this card's also an extra fusion spell because your Shaddol's on board, plus like your opponent's monsters can turn into Winda or like Construct because Light and Dark are the most popular attributes, and that's just incredibly powerful. Very difficult for your opponent to play around. It's a very powerful card. There's nothing more to say about that. We are playing the Gamma package. This is the only like actual hand trap I'm playing. The reason being, one, it's light, so you have easier access to Construct. But 2, it protects your power spells like Branded Fusion. It protects your power spells like Nadir Servant, Shaddol Fusion. Those are just some of the easiest cards that can get like Ash Blossom, for example. And being able to stop them with Gamma is really good. And of course, Gamma is just a super high impact hand trap, whether going first or going second potentially. So yeah, but you can play the Gamma. Really powerful. And then the 40th card was the Paleozoic Dino-Miscus, just a Mystic Mine out. No deck is complete without it nowadays until that card gets banned. So yeah, outs Mystic Mine, outs Floodgates, triggers your Shaddoll or your Sheeran, so pretty good. Not much to really say about that. 40 cards in the main. You do want to consistently see your power spells because when you see like any one of them, you're just in such a good position. So moving on to the extra deck, we are playing 2 copies of Construct. I think 2 is all you need, especially now that we have access to like Sharon to be able to put them back. You really just shouldn't be ever needing more than this, because once you set up 1, you can start setting up like a loop with like Shaddol Incarnation, and it makes it just really easy to never run out of these. 2 copies of Winda. You could make an argument for 3 and cut one of the other cards in the extra deck just because you have very high ease of access now with the Sharon. But I think 2 is a fine number. A lot of times you can definitely just end on the 2 now. It's a super easy just end on double Winda. And that could be very problematic for your opponent to out. And then 2 copies of Applone, you definitely want 2 because you'll be sending one a lot with either Ultimate Slayer or with Nadir Servant. And you want to be able to actually summon the other one. So not much to really say about that. That's it for the Shaddol fusions. I don't think you need any of the other attributes because Super Poly has enough like targets in the extra deck to where you shouldn't need one of the elemental Shaddolls, and those attributes just aren't that going to be that common in this format. Light and Dark are probably just the only relevant ones that you should really care about. 1 copy of Elder Entity Entis. This is for the Dogmatika package and Ultimate Slayer. And then for the branded stuff, just very small, Lubellion, Titaniclad, and Mirror Jade. So you don't need to play Albion because there's no good light monster like Snow to send anymore, so it's not really worth it. Lubellion can just send your dark monsters and trigger your Shaddolls or your Sharon. summon out the Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade's disruption at least twice because Lubellion goes back into the extra deck. And Titaniclad is just going to be able to actually grab you access to the Dogmatika stuff in the end phase. So it grabs you an extra interruption and just a lot of board pressure after you resolve a single Mirror Jade. And then for the Super Poly targets, we were playing Dragostapelia and Garura because, well, Tier is going to be a very common matchup. Super Poly will be good into that. Garura is a little more generic, but crazy thing is you can also make like Dragostapelia in this deck now with like the Sharon. That's like the other reason why I like Sharon. It adds a new dimension to Shaddolls because before you were never able to summon Stapelia unless you played Polymerization. But now with Sharon, you're able to put back, like, let's say one of your, either, like, you sent, like, one fusion for your branded fusion, or, like, you have just extra Shaddol fusions in the grave. You can not only recycle them, but also put up a disruption on the board. So that's why I like Dragostapelia and I like Sharon. It just fulfills multiple purposes. And then for the last few monsters, Gravity Controller. This is not meant for Ultimate Slayer. But you definitely like just use it a lot, turning your construct into essentially a quote-unquote spell and trap search. So you definitely need this. You could send it for Slayer. This is your link target. I just wanted a target for all the types, so Slayer was never dead, just because Slayer is such a powerful card in this deck. And then the other two are pretty much like strictly Slayer targets. Even though like this won't come up that often, like Omega doesn't come up that often. You can actually sometimes hard make it with like the Gamma as well, so that was kind of my logic with it. Being able to also shuffle back a card in your opponent's grave can be pretty huge. Or like in your own grave, just to recycle it can also be pretty huge, putting it back in the extra deck. Mirror Logic Aggregator, essentially, all you need to know is when it's sent to the grave, you target a face-up card on the field and negate it. So, for example, if you're playing against Exosister, it can be incredibly good because you just shuffle away their rank 8, negate like a face-up Necro Valley or something, and you're good. Worst case, like if you get Dweller, yeah, it sucks, but like at least you can get rid of the Dweller, then continue playing on your opponent's turn. So yeah, that's it for the extra deck. If you don't have access to Slayer, of course, you can definitely just cut these two and play more fusion monsters. So you can play like a Dark the Dark Charmer if you really want to, or you can just play like an extra Elemental Shaddol in addition to this. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. I know the Sharon is a bit of an unconventional choice. But I figured in my head, there's just so many upsides to it. Even hard drawing it, it's like just that worst case, like a potential to trigger Shaddoll and put stuff in the graveyard. So I figured it'd be really good for that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Stay tuned for the test hand / combo tutorial, which will be coming out after this. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.